finance editor with the National Black Unity News and host of the Finance Hour. Following these segments, you'll hear from three other finance professionals in their fields. But now I want to talk to you about some strategies that will help you reach your target savings goals, and increase your rainy day fund, and expand your financial portfolio. This is part of a money managed strategies I'll be talking to you about for the next few minutes. Let's take a look at the 50% graph. On what you spend on your needs. This includes mortgage, rent, car payments, grocery, insurance, healthcare, and utilities. I like to call these your fixed costs. These are your must-haves. It's a needs category. It does not include items such as HBO, Netflix, Starbucks, and dining out. Let's take a look at your 20% graph for your net income of savings and investments. As a rule of thumb, after your fixed costs are paid, concentrate on what you can realistically put aside and add money to your emergency fund or your bank account savings, or making an IRA contribution if you're not already doing so with your employer, or investing in Coinbase or Bitcoin, alternative investments. These are areas I'll discuss with you later if you choose to do so. Now let's take a look at the 30% graph on all things you spend money on that are non-essential. This includes dinners, movies, new handbag, tickets, sporting events, vacations, concerts, and internet. Anything that falls into one bucket is optional when it boils down to it. You can work out at home instead of going to the gym, cook instead of going out, or watch a sporting event on TV instead of getting tickets to the game. These are just things to consider when making these choices. We as a nation have endured a great deal during the shutdown. I understand. It will remain etched in our minds forever. These are areas where you can curtail your spending and save a great deal more on your weekly or bi-weekly pay by putting that 20 or 30% aside. You'll see it increase monthly and during each quarter. Here's where you'll realize you can hit your target savings annual goals. I hope you found these strategies helpful, and more money tips. Stay tuned to the Finance Hour. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Thanks for watching our podcast. If you would like to participate in our future podcasts as a guest, or if you would like to promote your business or service, contact Wayne Randall at 443-726-6693. Also visit our website at www.yourfinanceinfo.com. This is a TNBUN production.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is David Murphy from the National Black Unity News, interviewing Mr. Michael Thomas for 1,000 Great Minds. And Mr. Thomas is the editor in the National Black Unity News, and he also does quite a few other things. I'm gonna let him explain that to you. But getting started, we just want to share some information about a great program that both of us think that you should know about, because it's life altering. And I mean that just, this can change us, we, Black people, melanated people, African Americans, in so many ways. But I like to always start from the beginning. Mr. Michael Thomas, where do 1,000 Great Minds come from?
1,000 Great Minds is an origin from myself. It's an idea from myself It is a concept of 1,000 Black business people unifying into one corporate entity to administer a Black economic empowerment project around the country.
There are benefits for just other people as well, outside of the great 1,000 minds.
Yes, the unique selling proposition of the 1,000 Great Minds in the first place is to head up, launch, direct, manage, and oversee this nationwide housing program that enables every desiring person in the country, all 3,142 U.S. counties, to get a house in a car, truck, van, or SUV debt-free with no rent, mortgage, car payments, or debt to pay. So these homeowners who through the vehicle of the 1,000 Great Minds real estate unit represent those buyers in the purchase of their homes. We also capitalize the money for them to purchase the homes and the cars. So it's a benefit to them in that they would not be paying rent, they would not be paying mortgage, they would not be paying car payments, and they will own the home and they will own the car. So the great benefit that they would have is, if, for example, if they pay $1,000 a month for rent and car payment, that would be $1,000 a month that they don't have to pay for rent and car payment.
What are you doing at the vision? What are you doing to help, encourage people or let people know about this great program you got, 1,000 Minds? What are you doing to reach that objective?
Well, I've set up this website, getahousedebtfree.com. So that anyone who hears about it can go on and get on the list of to getahousedebtfree.com, get on the list. And it reminds me of getting on the Section 8 list for a home, or get on this list to get a home. Well, it's the same thing, get a house debt free. Get on that list to getahousedebtfree.com, to get a house debt free at getahousedebtfree.com. In addition, I post things on Facebook in reference to that too. And now I'm doing some getting assistance, like from yourself, being associated with the National Black Unity newspaper, where I can write articles about it and it gets out across the country.
I also understand that you also will be using some other forms of media, such as podcasting, and you already mentioned the newspaper. What is your podcast going to be? What is that going to be all about?
Recruiting the 1,000 Great Minds, basically getting the unique selling proposition of the company across to them, to let them know that what we do is deliver homes and personal transportation with no debt, no rent, mortgage, car payments, or debt to pay, no one turned down. So I want to let the 1,000 Great Minds audience who would be potentially come on board with the 1,000 Great Minds, what the company does, what is the product, service, or value, or unique selling proposition of the company, so that they can get behind it based on their own personalities. 1,000 Great Minds is seeking 1,000 Black entrepreneurs to head up a newly developed nationwide residential and commercial real estate project affecting all 3,142 U.S. counties. Entrepreneurs are needed from all work and business professions from A to Z, bringing all skill sets, know-how, intellectual capital, and business acumen to the group. The venture has 4 major plans, namely the Economic Stabilization Plan, the Main Capital Reduction Plan, the Final Stages Wrap-Up Plan, and the Multi-Business Spinoffs Plan. Anyone having interest in considering the 1,000 Great Minds nationwide residential and commercial real estate joint venture, submit your resume to 1000greatminds@gmail.com. We will review your resume and get back with you.
Can you get that number one more time, sir?
That's 704-777-8899. 704-777-8899, and also 1000greatminds.com, 1000greatminds.com.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. This is David Murphy, publisher of the National Black Unity News, a newspaper that is circulated nationwide. And the theme of our publication is bias and it's for us. And we are some will call the solution-oriented publication. We are different from every other newspaper that's out there because the people that makes up this paper are all volunteers and they're all invested into this publication. It's what we call a collaboration that will set us apart from everybody else because we are self-supporting. We don't depend on anybody but ourselves. But our purpose is to bring positive information to you, our listeners, our hearers, our viewers, and those who will see this video and on social network. So I encourage you to get a copy of the National Black Unity News. You can see it online as well as subscribe and have a publication sent directly to your home or office. With that being said, I'm bringing to you today one of our authors who's been with us for some time now. Her name is Lila Arthur. I'm gonna share a little bit about her. You know, I met her several years ago. She's a bright young lady who full of life, do wonderful things for people. I met her, she was involved with this organization called Hugs, and she explained a little bit about that as we move on. But she also dealt with financial services. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about today. And so I want to introduce to you, ladies, just Miss Lila Arthur. How you doing today?
Hi, I'm absolutely wonderful. And how are you today, David?
Well, I'm here. and I hope to be here tomorrow too. But in any case, you know, Lila, like I say, you do a lot of great things and you work with a lot of people. You not only you do things socially, but you know you have you have a business as well as you do financial services. So before we even get into those areas, I want people to know who is Lila Arthur. You know, you ain't got to give me your whole lifestyle, but what makes you tick?
Well, I'm a mother, so that kind of makes me tick because I see other people's children out here, and being a mother is dear to my heart to make sure things are in place for those children. I'm originally from New Jersey. I've been in Baltimore now 22 years, so people be like, "Oh yeah, you from Baltimore?" I've been here so long. Love what I do. Basically, you know, helping people is the root of what makes me tick. I like to help people. So that's why I have a cleaning business, because I like helping people with that. That's why I do finances, because I like helping people with that. I want to make sure people are in the place that they want, that they need to be, and that they're comfortable in. And just getting the information out there, letting them understand and knowing, you know, what's going on out here. A lot of times we end up where we do in life is because we just don't know, you know. So educating people, teaching people, helping people, that's what makes me tick. I like to help.
Can you tell me what type of services you provide when you deal with finances?
Sure. So the first thing I do is I do life insurance. I'm a licensed life insurance agent. And I also help people with fixed index annuities. And the next step is to help them with investments, 401ks and retirement plans and stuff like that. And like you said, this information is something that we weren't taught in the school system. So what I do is I don't just sit down and say, "Hey, let me give you a quote for some life insurance." I educate. So I sit down with them and show them, if they already have life insurance in place, I go through their policy and say, "Hey, did you know this was in your policy? Did you know that?" And most people don't. Most people were sold a life insurance policy by an agent and they never opened that policy back up. And if they had opened it up, they still wouldn't understand what to look for, right? So that's the difference in what I do and what other insurance agents do, is I educate them, because at the end of the day, I need them to understand exactly what they had and exactly what I'm offering them, and let them make the decision whether or not they should move forward with me or stay where they're at. And you know, and I give them the options, and people say, "Well, you know, I don't sell or whole life insurance." And so most people like us was always really taught to have whole life insurance. And I teach people like, well, I don't understand, Lala. Why not whole life insurance, right? Because most of us are not going to live past 100 anyway, right? You have a few people that live past 100, but at the end of the day, it's more important to make sure the people that you're leaving behind you're leaving them behind with money, not $10,000, not $20,000, but you want to leave them a replacement. So we teach our clients to have income protection in place. And we've also showed them how to put themselves in a position to become self-insured. See, insurance was never designed for us to pay for our whole life. It's only for a time period till we have enough money set aside to say I'm self-insured. Because think about it, David, if I walked in your house today, right, and you had $1 million sitting in an account that when you passed, that $1 million was going to pay off your house, it was going to take care of your grandkids, it was going to leave your kids something, would you need a life insurance policy?
No, I don't think I would. No.
Exactly. You wouldn't, because you would be considered self-insured. But most people that we know aren't in that position to say that I'm self-insured. So that's why they need the insurance in place. But while they have the insurance in place, they need to be putting themselves in a position to become self-insured. That is where the investment parts come in. So now we teach our clients to buy term and invest the difference. So you get a term policy for 30 years. But in that 30 years, we also are putting money aside into an investment and allowing it to grow. Now it's allowing our people to be able to not only understand insurance, but also understand investments. Something, again, that we weren't taught in the school system. You know, we got the market out here, but most people don't understand how the market works. They just know that, I'm a little scared to go into the market. But if they understood it and they knew how to work it, we would be in a better position. We don't have money set aside because of that, because we just don't know. But that's where we come in. That's where I come in. I'm a coach, somebody that can come and teach you finances and teach you how to put yourself in a position to not only, live a good life, but retire a good life as well. You know what I mean? If you live to the point you get to retirement, then you want to have money set aside to say, you know what, I can live and not have to go back to work, because too many of our senior citizens have worked all their life, but then they turn around and have to go back to work. They at Walmart, they at Home Depot. And that shouldn't be. You shouldn't have worked for all these years and then have to turn around and go back to work because no one sat down with you 30 years ago and showed you how to have a plan in place, showed you how to have the right type of investment, show you how to have, the things you need to put away, and so that you can get to the point of retirement and say, I'm good, I can go travel, I can do all the things that I should be doing and not have to work for somebody else.
We will be back after these messages.
Need a financial planner? Then contact our professional and friendly team to learn more about our range of custom and tailored services designed to suit your exact needs. Every one of our professionals has acquired years of experience, which ensures you get the very best. Our experienced staff are waiting to hear from you and answer any specific questions that you may have on how we can meet your needs. Just ask for a consultation and let us prove our commitment to you, as we promise to maintain the highest level of quality and commitment. Your satisfaction is our primary concern, so please don't hesitate to get in contact with us and let us show you all the great options we have.
Just like Shakespeare about anything, who you are, why you do, anything else about your business or service, just go in and share.
So one thing that came to mind is, when I first started, I was scared too. Like, and I know that's why a lot of people don't get involved, because they feel like, oh, I can't do that. I can't do this. That's just not me. Well, I was the same way. It wasn't me. You know, I hadn't been in sales, and I hadn't been in, I worked at a desk. I did computer work. That's what I did for a living. I worked at a desk, and I helped people with their computers. So it was like, oh, this is not me. But at the end of the day, if you continue to tell yourself that and you never move forward and try something different, and I shouldn't even say try, because a try is a cuss word in my business. We don't say try. But if you never do something different, you're going to continue to be in that same situation over and over again. And I am thankful that I actually took a look at the opportunity and I got involved, because when I say 8 months later, I had been with this business for 8 months. 8 months later, I was out sick for 2 days. On that second day, I got a phone call from my human resources department, told me I no longer had a job. Now, this company I worked for 6.5 years, came in on weekends, brought my kids with me to work, whatever I needed to do to make sure the job was done, that's what I did. And they called me up on my cell phone and said I didn't have a job. Now, had I not had took advantage of this opportunity, I'd have been just out there, not being able to feed my kids, not being able to have a roof over my head. But thank God I did take a look, and I got involved, and I was good. I was fine. I didn't miss a beat financially, and I never worked for nobody else after that. That was a telltale for me.
Wow.
Never ever have I ever worked for anybody else after that.
That's a powerful testimony. There you have it, ladies and Hello, this is David Murphy, publisher of the National Black Unity News, also of the Podcasting Network. Today I have with me Mr. James Silver. Mrs. James Silver is a unique gentleman with a unique program. And he had the type of program that could, I would once say, give an inheritance not only to your children, but to your children's children. But before we get into that, I want to tell you a little bit about the man. I want to talk a little bit about himself, because, you know, every journey begins with the first step. And I'm always curious how people end up where they are. And so, Mr. James Silver, how you doing today, sir?
Oh, I'm fantastic. Thank you for asking. And I pray that all is well with your household.
Yes, it is. And but they're still putting up with me, so I guess it's still okay.
I guess it's okay then.
Yeah, but Mr. Silver, you know, the reason why we on here is to bring some vital information to our community, to all communities, but especially to the Black African American community.
Absolutely.
And you know, we have a lot of taboos, you know, in our communities coming up. You know, what's in the house supposed to stay in the house, man don't supposed to cry, and we have all kinds of things that, you know, that we was raised up, that, you know, been handed down, and sometimes we only know why. You know, nobody never told us the real reason sometimes, but you know, but yet we carry on those type of traditions. But with the National Black Unity News newspaper, as well as the podcasting network, see, we try to, matter of fact, we're going to change a lot of those paradigms, because we had to set the captives free. And if we don't tell our stories, if we don't set our own people free, I personally believe nobody's gonna come back and do that for us, unless it's God himself. I don't think no other race or group of people is going to support us. They're going to take care of their own, and rightfully so. And you know, we can do the same thing too. But this is really not about a race thing. This is about a lot of things, because the conversation we're gonna have this evening is gonna be about, oh man, so I just wait to get into it. But getting back to this man, Mr. James Silver, tell me something. Who are you and where you come from?
Well, I am, Again, my name is James Silver. I was raised in Hampton, Virginia. Two beautiful parents. I grew up in a household with a loving father and a loving mother. I have four sisters and one brother. And I've been in the DC area since 1979. Um, I have been a lot of places. I'm retired from the United States Air Force Reserves. So I've been a lot of places around the world because of the military. And um, I am a Pentagon survivor. So I was in the Pentagon on 9/11. And thank God I came out in one piece. May not have all my faculties sometimes, but I'm here. God has blessed me to be here today. I am a member of the First Baptist Church of Highland Park in Landover, Maryland, under the leadership of Reverend Dr. Henry P. Davis, where I teach financial literacy at my church. And that's what led me into where I am today. Because I teach financial literacy, I talk to families all the time about what they're doing is not always godly in terms of money. God has a plan for us to how to handle his money. And it's all his money, and it's not ours. And we handle that money incorrectly. And if we do it the right way, you're going to grow and your family's going to grow. But we've never taught how to handle money. And that's what I've discovered as teaching these classes for over 15 years. I discovered that we were never taught anything about money. As a child, you can't teach what you don't know.
That's right.
And that's what I find that so many of our parents that came up through a society where the money wasn't, we wouldn't talk about money because we didn't have any. We didn't have anything to teach me. They couldn't teach me what they didn't know. My father couldn't teach me how to balance a checkbook when he never even wrote a check. So he couldn't tell me how to do that. My mom didn't write checks. My sister wrote the checks out for my family. So they couldn't tell me how to balance a checkbook. They couldn't teach me how to save money. They couldn't tell me about a home ownership. My parents didn't get a home until they were well into their late 40s before they even got up their first home. So they couldn't teach me about home ownership other than what someone helped them get. So we weren't taught these things. And as a result of that, our people are perishing. But it's time for them to stop perishing. It's time for them to learn something that's going to be to impact their children and their children's children. And that's what I'm about right now. I'm about impacting the families. I'm about impacting these families to the point where I want the monies that we have accumulated, that God has allowed us to accumulate, to be passed on to our children, our children's children, and so they would know who we are. You know, I mean, because I don't know my grandparents. I never got a chance to see my grandparents. Um, one of my grandparents died when I was 6 years old, so I really didn't know them. So they couldn't teach me anything about. All they could teach me about hard times.
Mhm.
Hard times. We're living in a generation today where we're not suffering. Many of us are not suffering financially. All they knew was suffering. All they knew was suffering. But so we got to be able to now teach our children some different things. So I'm not sure if that's what you want me to talk about, but
Yeah. Let me just ask you this then. We're gonna get right to the heart of the matter. Now, when I first met you, now we've been Facebook friends for some time, but we never really had what you say a conversation until one day I received some literature that you had posted, and I called you immediately because it touched a nerve in me. Now, I come up in the neighborhoods. I've been up there and I've been down there. I've been around town and through town. And one thing was always consistent with us. I'm talking about Black people now, because that's what I focus on.
okay.
And that is when a loved one pass or die. And when the families had to come together to make arrangements for the families, in most cases that I know of, there was some serious fallout. There was some serious people who wanted to do things one way, and another group wanted to do another way, and some others wanted to do it their way, and it caused a lot of conflicts in our family. Right now, I have known some people because of a death of a loved one, they don't even speak to one another, have not spoken to one another either, and not because I understand that hurting people hurts people when you're grieving of a lost one, and then you try to make arrangements. You got all of that emotion and all that stuff going into this thing, and so I can understand that. But then you also have people who think they are entitled to things as well. And so it's all kind of situations. And so when you sent me that information, that's what triggered in my mind. It triggered about all of those families. And I even recall, even in my own family, we had a situation with my mother. She's still living, thank God. But she was in a hospice situation one time.
Mm.
Even before she wasn't even in her grave, and there was conflict in the family.
Wow.
But who's supposed to do what? Who's going to take care of this, and who's going to do this? You know, and it was some certain, and it affected me personally real heavy because I couldn't believe this was coming from my own loved ones. But see, that's the kind of stuff that happens. I understand now. But I want to get into this conversation about what you do now. First of all, how did you get into this program you in now? And I want you to explain to us how important what you do is for them.
Well, because I teach this financial literacy class, I teach a class called debt management, and we call it D-Free for short. But it's a program to teach people how to begin to get out of debt. And that's what kind of led me to who I am now. But in the classroom, I challenge my students to do something different. I challenge them to use some of their talents that God has given them to do something to make money with them. Because I tell people to get out of debt, you got to do two important things. One, you got to spend less money, and then you got to make more money. And the people that I'm talking to most of the time are already retired. They say, I don't want to go back and get a job. I don't want you to go back and get a job at 65 and 70. I don't want you to go back and get a job then. Because you're in there competing with people, half your age, and you might be getting jobs where you might be on your feet for multiple hours. But find something that you can do that you're passionate about. And since I'm passionate about finance, since I'm passionate about wealth transfer of wealth, it led me into the insurance industry. They tell me in the insurance industry, the two industries, if you want to make the most amount of money in your career, there are two industries that you need to be in, one or two industries. If you really want to set your own ticket, the banking industry and the insurance industries. Those two industries have the most amount of resources of any industry that you can go into. So I'm like, okay, I'm too old to be in the banking industry. I don't want to be a stockbroker, but maybe I could talk to somebody about the insurance policies and how to grow wealth through insurance. This is a secret that I think has been kept away from the Black community. Growing wealth in insurance policy. Because most people, when our community, when they say insurance policy, the only thing they think about is, when I die, somebody's going to get some money. And I hear this story over and over again. I don't want them to get my money. But the Bible tells us in Proverbs 13:22, it says, a good man, a good woman leaves an inheritance to their children. So we in our community seem like we don't even care enough to put enough money aside to take care of our final expenses. In the state of Maryland, it costs anywhere between $8,000 and $15,000 just for the funeral. Does not include your grave site. So that means there could be another $4,000 to $8,000 just for your grave. So that means you're looking at about $20,000. And the funeral homes are quickly willing to take that money, whether that's a black funeral home or a white funeral home. They're quickly ready to take that money from the family. It doesn't have to be that way. And that's what led me into where I am now. I'm with a company called Lincoln Heritage. If you can see that on my shirt here, but that's where I am now. And we teach people a different way. We teach people to start planning things. We plan other things. We plan weddings. We plan vacations. But the one event that's going to happen to each and every one of us is that we're going to die one day. And when we die, have we put a plan of action of what we want to be done? Now, I heard you say something about your mother, and I hear the stories all the time where families, someone dies, and everybody's in an uproar. And I ask families all the time, I said, have you ever made a bad financial decision? And many of them say, yes, I've made a bad financial decision. Well, I tell people the worst financial decision that you could make is make a bad decision when you're grieving at the same time. When you're grieving at the same time, and you're grieving, and you got to make this decision. There are 72 decisions that you got to make, that a family has to make and when somebody dies. 72.
Okay.
And you have to make those decisions within 72 hours. So now I'm stressed because now I got to make these decisions. And then I'm under the pressure of how do I pay for this? Because if family didn't leave the money, they don't have insurance, they didn't leave the money. Now we got to figure out how we're going to pay for all of this. That's a problem.
Yes, it is.
Doesn't have to be that way, sir.
We'll be right back after this message.
Most of us are not funeral planners. Most of us never have ever gone through the process of actual planning and paying for a funeral. We rely on who we think are the experts, the funeral director. That's their job to plan your funeral. It's also their job to separate. I'm gotta be careful how I say this. To make money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's a business, yeah.
They're in business to make money. Okay. And with so many people dying every day, they make a tremendous amount of money. They make a tremendous amount of money. You figure if an average funeral is $8,000 to $15,000, and you got 3 or 4 people to bury a week, you can do the math here to see how much money people are making. Well, with our company, we are affiliated with an organization that is an advocacy for the family. And what we do is we work on behalf of the family. Our organization is called the Lincoln Heritage Insurance Company, but we're affiliated with an organization called the Funeral Consumer Guardian Society. Their sole mission is to work on the behalf of the family. That's our sole mission, the whole purpose. So what they're going to do for the family is, first of all, there will be someone who can negotiate, who can price shop for the family. So when someone dies, instead of going to XYZ funeral home, they contact the Funeral Consumer Guardian Society, and they will contact 3 funeral homes in the area, thus comparing the prices of the 3 funeral homes. This organization is made up of former funeral home directors and funeral home owners. So now when they're talking to other funeral homes, it's like one funeral home talking to another funeral home. Hey man, what's your price for this? What's your price for this? And so when we write out our plan and our booklets and our forms that I had to fill out, they know exactly what type of service you want, what type of casket you want. Like in my case, they know what kind of casket I want, what kind of casket that I want for me. So they know what kind of service to provide for me. So when they're talking to the funeral homes, they can say, well, my member wanted XYZ for his funeral. What is your price for that? And they're going to say, well, this price is going to cost you $7,500. So they go to a second one, tell the same thing. What is your price for this? This price may be $8,000. Another one might be $6,300. So now we're going to go to that $6,300 one, and then we might call that first one back and say, hey, look, I got a price of $6,300. Can you match it? At that point, that funeral home has two choices. Either say yes or no.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So they may get the funeral home of my choice, which is my number one preference. They may not. But the whole point is that I am now doing price shopping, and I'm dead, but they're doing price shopping on my behalf.
Mm-hmm.
Thus saving money. The one thing that you do not want to do, families, you do not want to do is contact a funeral home, and because they're going to ask you two questions first. They're going to ask you, they're going to feel so sorry that your family member died, and they're going to ask you, how would you be paying for this? The moment you say insurance, they're like rubbing their hands together and said, okay, I got another one here. And then they're going to ask you, how much is the policy worth? And so if that policy is not more than what they want, then it's going to cost the family additional money. But if they say that policy is a $15,000 policy, let's take for example, they figure they're going to get that $15,000 out of the family. That's $15,000 that they're going to get. So they're pointing the family to the most expensive items in the funeral home so they can get their money. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. It makes good sense
Okay.
for the funeral home.
But let's say that policy, let's say to that family that you got a $50,000, $100,000 policy. Okay, so now I know if the funeral home knows how much money you got, it's like showing your hand in a card game. Mm-hmm. He says, okay, I got here's my hand. You give me a counter offer on it. And so now they know how much you got. Then they know how much you got, then they can say to families, okay, look, family, your family member want this kind of funeral, this kind of casket, this kind of service, this kind of vault, and all these kind of things, making sure they can separate as much money away from the family as possible. And that's why having insurance alone is not the answer without a plan. Without a plan, having insurance alone, and I hear this all the time, well, I got insurance. You have insurance, but do you have a plan? Does your family have a written, detailed plan on what to do when you die? A written, detailed plan. So then the family's got to don't have to argue over, well, this is what James wants. They ain't got to argue about what kind of casket. They ain't got to argue about what kind of service. They know what kind of service I want because I've already written it down. Mm-hmm. It's a written, detailed plan. And I know where to get the casket from, because I can say, in my detailed plan, I can say, look, this is where I want you to get the casket from, and this is how much it's going to cost. That way, the family don't have to worry about those kind of things. This is the kind of vault you need to get. That kind of thing. All of it is written out. And once that is written out, and this funeral consumer guidance strategy says they know what kind of things I want. So when they're talking to these funeral homes, they know exactly what to say to them. And so that's going to save their money. And see what another thing when their funeral when they agree upon which funeral home they want, what our organization would do is it says they will use their credit card to send them, or the funeral conversation will send their credit card number over to the funeral home, and then the funeral was paid for. So all the family has to do then is take my clothes over.
Amen.
All they have to do is take my clothes over. Take my uniform, get my uniform out of the closet, and take the uniform to the funeral home. That's all they have to do.
So like I said, if a person have a desire and want to change his income and his outcome as well, and so they can come to you and have a conversation. And if I heard you right, you got people that will interview the person, and then then y'all take them through the process. But again, even though y'all have training, and do you have hands-on kind of things to help people yourself?
We got ongoing training of if you want to learn something, you're going to learn it here. Because you gotta teach somebody how to go out and sell to the neighborhood, sell to the people, who to talk to, what to say to them. We have what to say and when to say it. So you got to be trained in that, and we got people who's going to do all that training for you.
Oh, that's great. So in other words, you said there really is no excuse. If you have the desire and you're willing to put in the work, then no matter. But like you say, is there any type of education that you have to have, or anything like that, or any special requirements?
You have to be 18 and no criminal record.
That's it. Wow. Okay.
18. I mean, we want somebody who is a fairly intelligent person, but you don't have to have a whole lot of. This is not somebody who you have to have advanced degrees to do. You don't have to have no advanced degree. You don't have to have a degree at all. So if somebody came to me and said, "Hey, look, I want to get into this," you got to have a burning desire to help people.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this is about, a burning desire to help people. And when you have that burning desire to help somebody, and you have the ability to talk, just like we have this conversation, have that burning desire to have this conversation with people. This is a conversation that people don't want to talk about. So now we got to force people to talk about this conversation. And so we can get people to talk about this conversation, then we can get them to move to action. You got to make a decision on something. There's some things that you got to do. If you leave it to other people, you leave it to your family to make decisions, then you're going to have problems. Family's going to have problems at that point, because you've seen it, I've seen it. There was a gentleman that I was trying to help back in May of this year. And I know the situation because the fiance told me about the situation. Well, the gentleman died in June 28th of this year. And the last time I spoke to the fiance about it was maybe in September. He hadn't been buried because he didn't have any insurance.
We'll be right back after this message.
Okay. Well, I don't have a website as of yet. That's going to be opening up throughout the 1st of January. So I will have a website at that point. But to reach out to me, my name is James, James. Last name is Silver, just like a silver dollar, SILV in Victory, ER. My phone number is going to be 240-245-7678. I look forward to talking to anybody, whether you want a policy through us, whether you want to investigate how to become a part of our organization. We do workshops, every opportunity meetings every Sunday night, every Tuesday night, and every Thursday evenings of each month. So to invite people to come look at what we do and how it could benefit them. I'm looking for some young guns. I'm looking for some young people to come in and change their zip codes. This business can literally change your zip code. And the reason how I'm telling you how it can change, you make enough money, you can move to wherever you want to go. You can go wherever you want to go. My email address is going to be consult, CONSULTJE Silver@gmail.com. Consult, CONSULTJESILVER@gmail.com. I look forward to talking to anybody who would talk to me. I am desperately trying to reach people. I'm trying to change people's lives and change people's zip codes. I would love to have a conversation with anybody. I'm looking for young guns. Young guns, we call young guns anybody under the age of 30. We have some amazing young guns in our company who by the time they're 30 years old will be millionaires.
Oh, okay.
Will be millionaires by the time they're 30. And because they follow our system and do what we tell them to do, they're going to be millionaires.
Okay, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Like, not only can you help people relieve stress and hurt and pain, but you can also make serious money. You can change your zip code, change your way of living. And like I said, it's no more excuses now, because that's what the National Black Unity News is all about. We try to bring solution-oriented information. And Mr. James Silver is the editor in the National Black Unity News. He's a man of God. He's a man of commitment. And he's really, you heard it from yourself. He's a man that really wants to help people change for the better. And so, Mr. Silver, man, I truly, truly appreciate you for taking time to do this interview with me, because I thought it was greatly important, because it changed my life. I feel good. I feel great now, because this is one area of my life that, that is sold up now. I'm putting it together. And so, like I say, I don't have to worry about that anymore. I got grandchildren and everything else, and I think about their futures and stuff. So, but the buck stops with us. If we don't do nothing, how can we do something for somebody else? Do it. We had to take the bull by the horns and make these changes. I don't care if you see, I'm 70 years old and I took it out. And so because I know I'm getting close to it. I'm in that checkout line, sooner or later. But I don't know. I ain't planning on going nowhere, but it's going to happen.
Yes, sir.
And it's going to happen to you too. And if you truly care about your family and your loved ones, then you need to have this conversation with Mr. James Silver. And maybe a lot of people who does what he do, but I can say this about him: he is sincere about what he's doing. And I appreciate you, sir. Thank you.
The programs and information in this production were intended to help you. Contact any of the individuals for more information. I'm Wayne Randall, host. Stay in tune to the Finance Channel for our Q&A session coming soon on Zoom.